Hey everyone, welcome to the video. And in this video, we're going to discuss what is growth hacking. So we're going to give you a definition of growth hacking that you can use to clarify the concept, because there's a lot of different ways that people define growth hacking, and then there's a lot of different ways that people perceive growth hacking, and we want to bridge the gap with this particular definition. So what is growth hacking? So before we get into the exact statement that defines the term, I want to explain the landscape and where growth hacking fits in. So we understand that there are two ways of growing a business online. So there's the slow and saturated means, which include things like SEO. And then there's, on the other side, if you see, there's expensive and saturated channels like Facebook ads, for example. So what happens is, as these are the most popular approaches, when you do a business or have a startup, you would typically fall into one of those two sides. So either you'll think, I'll go for organic growth, which is not predictable because you cannot really develop a funnel and it's going to take a long time, whether it's organic social media or it's search engine optimization. On the other side, you might, let's say, for example, raise a round of funding or get some investors, and then you might want to put that money on Facebook ads or any other ad platform for that matter. And these channels are going to get saturated very soon, and they're going to get expensive if you do not really increase your lifetime value of your customer. And we're going to explain all those terms in a little more detail. But to understand what problem is growth hacking solving, why do we even need that term in the ecosystem, and where does it stand? So growth hacking sits in between the spectrum of the slow and saturated and expensive and saturated channels. So it's going to be faster, it's going to be less saturated, even though it's going to be less popular, it's going to be more scalable. So there are advantages of both of these sides, and it removes the sort of disadvantages of both. So this is the middle path that you can take. And growth hacking is lean and agile, right? So just like SEO, we use the term slow and saturated, Facebook ads expensive and saturated, growth hacking lean and agile. And I'll explain what that means in a bit, but just to summarize, it reduces the waste in the system. So if you look at SEO, for example, you might work on a particular keyword in SEO for 1 year or 2 years and eventually end up not ranking for the keywords. That's not a very lean approach, right? And you want to go back to your audience as quickly as possible rather than having to optimize your content for a very long time before you could do that. So that's the agile version. So lean and agile are two different mindsets and frameworks that go very well with growth hacking. So this is where growth hacking sits. And here in the next slide, we see the definition of growth hacking. Now, while there are many definitions online, this is the one that I use, and this is the one that makes the most sense for me. And I've put it together after a lot of understanding about what exactly do we need to define growth hacking, which in that sense separates it from like one of the other digital marketing processes. So if you say, digital marketing, lean marketing, agile marketing, experimental marketing, those are all different terms that can be used. But growth hacking, when you hear that term, I don't want you to have a misconception about what this means. It's not a shortcut to growth. It's not a hacking into a system. It's a process. So growth hacking is a process by which you test and find impactful and scalable ways. So whatever you're doing, it cannot be a small hack that dies in a few days. It has to be scalable, and it has to impact your North Star or your focus metric. So it is the process. So first of all, we need to understand it's a process by which you test and find. So it's important to experiment. So test is a very important keyword there. Test and find impactful and scalable ways, not just shortcuts. Impactful and scalable ways to improve a focus metric. Now this is important, and hence I've underlined it. It's a focus metric. It's one metric that you're focusing on through rapid experimentation. So how do you find it? Rapid experimentation. You look at running small experiments quickly while using as less resources as possible. And this is important because you could grow really, really fast by burning a lot of money. But growth hacking focuses on using less resources, which is the lean aspect of growth hacking that we discussed earlier. while using as less resources as possible in terms of all manpower, time, and money. Those are the kinds of resources that you would typically have as a business. So let's repeat, it's a process by which you test and find impactful and scalable ways to improve a focus metric through rapid experimentation while using less resources. So we're going to expand on the underlined terms a little bit. So the focus metric that we are talking about is also known as the OMTM, which is the one metric that matters. So when you're executing this growth hacking process, you're typically executing experiments to improve this one particular metric. And why is it called that matters? Because this metric matters the most to your startup or business at that given point of time. So at that given point of time, it might be improving the conversion rate on your landing page. It might be increasing the activation percentage of users, improving the onboarding journey on your app. It could be improving retention on your product. It could be getting people to refer more people, and then the metric could be the referral coefficient, let's say, of the people who refer other people. So whatever that focus metric is, and trust me, at any point of time in a startup, you actually just can have one focus metric. Even though as an entrepreneur, you might have a lot of things that you're working on, you could boil your entire startup down to a big North Star metric, and then you could have different OMTMs for your different teams or different goals within your big North Star, and all your OMTMs can feed into your North Star. And in that sense, the OMTM is slightly different from the North Star. That OMTM can be defined by the team, by the project, and then eventually all of them lead to improvement of the same North Star metric. Then we have rapid experimentation, which is what Agile is, and we have using less resources, and that's what Lean methodologies do. So we're going to learn more on all of these things, but just wanted to clarify those three keywords and the jargons associated with them. If you're new to growth hacking completely, these will help you clarify some of those terms that you see. So to deep dive a little bit more, so Lean is to reduce waste in the process, while Agile is to deliver to the audience faster. So these are two different things, and this graphic sort of clarifies exactly what we are talking about. So when we say Lean, we are reducing waste in the marketing process, and when we say Agile, we are going to the target audience faster, but also again and again. We're going to them repeatedly. So when we go to the audience every time we do a Lean experiment, we get results, and then we can feed those results back into the system to improve the results exponentially. And that's what Lean and Agile, that's the difference between those two terms. So now we're going to use some of those jargons or some of those terms that we've learned to update the definition. And this will make you really sound like a growth hacker, because now you know what those terms actually mean. So growth hacking is the process by which you test and find impactful and scalable ways to improve your OMTM through Lean and Agile experimentation. So Lean and Agile are essential parts of the definition, and we've borrowed this from product software. Those are terms like borrowed terms, and hence you will see that growth hacking works very closely with the tech and not just with marketing. So it's an overlap in terms of skill sets between both tech and marketing. Finally, to summarize and to close on this topic, I would like to say that growth hacking is not just a process. It is a process by itself, but it also takes a mindset that you need to build, and it's a broad as well as deep skill set that you need to build. And in terms of the mindset, in the next lessons, we're going to explore what the mindset is and how you can build it. The process, of course, we're going to deep dive throughout this course, and then the skill set as well. We're going to discuss what are the different width of knowledge that you can build, and what kind of depth of knowledge options you have to become a T-shaped growth hacker. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.